Welcome to the GP Preview Show. Round 9. Austria. Spielberg. The hills are alive with the sound of Formula 1. There we go, that was that bad Austrian pun out of the way with, but yeah, Austrian Grand Prix, we're flying through the season at the moment, obviously really excited. The round before Silverstone, fantastic race in the Austrian Alps. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to jump into our predictions for the Austrian Grand Prix. Baku Grand Prix predictions were a bit over the top. We didn't really get anything nailed on. Obviously, there was obviously what was happening with Sebastian, what was happening with Lewis. Obviously, they both lost the race. Obviously, Seb with the crashing and the penalty. Lewis with basically something that we've never seen before, obviously having problems with his headrest. Obviously Lance's second place, we couldn't really predict, and obviously the Force Indies coming together, which Force Indies stuck out for me enough because obviously we both predicted Force Indies on the podium. Obviously I think mine was Perez and Jordan's was Ocon, so that was big. But yes, what is going to happen in Austria? Anyway, so I'm going to start with my predictions, and I'm going to start with third place, build up the momentum from that. So in third place, I'm going to say it is car number 3, and that is Daniel Ricciardo. So yes, we are at the home of Red Bull, obviously based in Austria, at the home, really great, obviously called kind of the Red Bull Ring, obviously, big bronze statue of the Bull, just coming out of Sector 2, really big race for them. I love the overalls as well. They have like a skit on like a yodeler or something like that, but they're really fun to see. Home race, they're putting a good performance here, and obviously a fantastic race from last year. I think that was one of Verstappen's best podiums. I know it's not Ricciardo, but Verstappen's best podium was in Austria, obviously, especially after the carnage of what happened to the Mercedes last year. Yep, so Verstappen in third place. In second place, I'm going to go for Lewis Hamilton. The guy who, he's on a charge, he's on a push, obviously got caught up with that fight that was going on from Baku. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about that in the episode as it progresses, but obviously, thankfully, that's done and dusted, because I've got to say, I don't know what we were expecting to think that it would be carried on to Austria, but I'm just glad that it isn't really. Anyway, so yeah, second place is Hamilton, really on a push to try and catch, obviously, the man who is battling him in the World Championship classifications. And then, obviously, I have to say, that is the man who will win the race, Sebastian Vettel. Now, the reason that I've said Vettel is obviously, because he's a good driver, of course, but Austria hasn't gone his way. It really, really hasn't. He's had a few, obviously, since it came back in 2014. He did the 2014 race with Red Bull race. I always remember in about lap 2, he was about 2 laps down, because what happened was, on lap 1, he pulled over with problems with the car. And then, obviously, what happened was, he was, I don't know if you remember that, he was sitting there on the grid for about, 3/4 of the lap or something like that. And then he went off again. He found the magic button or something. Maybe he turned the engine off. We don't know. He turned the engine off, and then Rocky was like, "Well, press every button you can." Well, I could go to Z, or I'll start with the push engine to start again. Oh, it's worked, Rocky. I'm amazing. Yeah, sure you are. It's not like I didn't tell you to do that. So Vettel. It wasn't a great race in 2014. Obviously, as I said, Red Bull's home race. 2015 was obviously better for him, getting into the points. 2016 obviously wasn't a great race from him. He had a problem on the start-finish straight. I believe it was a puncher, wasn't it? Yep. And obviously then we'll hope for this year. And obviously Vettel's year last year, obviously with all the swearing and the honestlys, I don't know if he was expecting a good Austrian, the hands and all that. Even though we're heading into a race where, he's literally just done that. So it's not really much of a difference. But obviously, anyway, so he will get onto the podium, onto the top step. Vettel reigns again. There's another flag flies outside of Maryland. He will go back to the top of the World Championship. Well, I think he will do at that time, obviously, if it all goes to play. So we've got 3 teams on the podium, and obviously the home team at that time, obviously Austria's Red Bull. It'll be a good race for Mercedes, German team, and obviously Toto Wolff and Niki Lauda, the 2 guys at the helm. They are obviously both from Austria, both from Vienna, so it'll be great for them to see. But just obviously, as we said about the collision, I'm not going to go into it. As I said, I said we were, but we're not. Obviously, as you know, there's nothing's happening between with Sebastian Vettel. He had a tribunal on Monday, and obviously nothing's happening between them, which is good. But I hope that, and I hope that they will get wheel to wheel racing. And obviously, if my podium if what I'm thinking for the podium is correct, it'll be good to see what they'll be battling against, because obviously those two are at each other's throats. I mean, the tension, you could feel the tension. Honestly, back home, I really felt it. It was crazy. It'll be great to see what the battling those two will be able to do, and it should be an amazing race. Obviously, after that, cause just one last thing we all remember. Obviously, Silverstone 2016. Obviously, the race after Austria, which is obviously where Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton collided in the big crash. Obviously, also a few races after Spain. So those kind of things really help races. They just help races, be really entertaining. I really can't wait for what's going to happen. And those two drivers getting on the podium and being so close together, and obviously one will be battling for the win and they won't get it. One will be battling for the win and he will get it. That will make this race, this weekend, so much better. We'll put the cherry on the cake, really, for those two drivers. And obviously, as I say, Ricciardo, great from him. That means 5 consecutive podiums this guy will have. 5 podiums, including 1 win, which is fantastic for the Australian. Oh, yes, really fantastic. And obviously, as I said, home race as well, which obviously will be absolutely great. Just puts another cherry on top of the cake. Yep, so anyway, Jordan, the Austrian Grand Prix. The hills are alive, but who will they be screaming for in your predictions?
Well, it won't be McLaren, I'll tell you that, for instance. I'm just going to get that out of the way. So, obviously, I'm just going to do the same as Lyle. I'm going to go from 3rd to 1st place. Very dramatic, as always. Keep the suspense going, you know what I mean? We do love a bit of a suspense on the F1 debate show. So, in P3, I'm not going with the Red Bull. I'm going with Valtteri Bottas. Now, I'm going with a bit of a kind of like what I'm going to call a traditional podium. Nothing really exciting, but I'm going to kind of go into pretty much a detail why. So, obviously, 3rd place Valtteri Bottas. He's not really in the mix right now to be fighting for world championships or in the scuffle between Seb and Lewis, or in the battle between the Force Indies or whoever after the absolute carnage that happened. Or if you're this fellow thing, Kimi Räikkönen, I'm pretty sure that they might come to blows in that Grand Prix. So that'll be very, very entertaining to see. But I think Valtteri Bottas is going to keep out of harm's way. I think he's going to have a clean, solid race, P3 like he has done this season. You know, happy days. Another day at the office, as it was. I might learn that. I might learn that in Finnish and see how he would say it. In P2, I'm going with his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Now, we all know Lewis Hamilton, obviously a very good driver. Won here last year. I mean, brilliant. Well, we say brilliant drive. You know, you give or take after what happened with Nico Rosberg. Obviously, very, very dramatic. I'm expecting loads of things this season. You know, but not with his own teammate, with his World Championship rival, which is who I'm predicting to go in P1, Sebastian Vettel. Now, I think this is the start of something very amazing in Formula One. I hope it is, anyways, because over the years we've seen some amazing rivals between like Niki Lauda, James Hunt, Prost, Senna, Schumacher, Villeneuve. You know, them big, the big names in Formula One, and we've had Rosberg, Hamilton. But I think this one is going to be even bigger because you've got a 4-time world champion against a 3-time world champion. 7 world championships between them. That's a lot in Formula One terms. So, and I think, after what's happening in Azerbaijan, I think that's going to boil over into Austria. Yes, Vettel's getting no further action. That's it. As that FIA and everything is concerned, that's right in the hands. It's done. It's not on the track. It's not going to be, because when them two come together, everyone's going to go.
Even if they get even the slightest close together, yeah, you're right. The slightest close, and obviously the camera will be doing a lot of pickups of people who will have like Vettel flags and Hamilton flags, German flags and British flags, or they might even have a both. They might even make a bit of a humour like dear Sebastian Vettel, like don't turn in, a bit like what we saw with Rosberg in Silverstone last year. Obviously, when those two had the clash. The previous race in Austria, so there might be a bit of humour about that, but as John said, yeah, massively. Every single time they get close, you never know. I mean, one of them might be lapping the other one. One of them might see blue flags, probably not, but yeah, anytime they'll get close, it'll even be like in the it'll even be like in the driver's briefing room, probably, and things like that. Like the pre-race toilet trip. Like, just imagine if they actually brush past each other. Like, you can hear the skin suits going whoosh, like that, and then they'll be like, oh my god, Vettel and Hamilton actually touched again, and it'll be so big. But I can't wait for that.
That would be actually pretty exciting as well. It's also when they're coming into the driver's briefing room for Austria, it would be like, right, Vettel, I want you to sit over there. Hamilton, I want you to sit over there, because like what they used to do in primary school. So I think that's the route we're going down. So yes, that is my top 3. I'll go with Valtteri Bottas in P3, keeping out of harm's way. P2 Lewis Hamilton, P1 Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian Vettel, I think he has been on the podium in the last 2 Grand Prix, I believe. Yes. So he's due a podium after an absolutely terrific start, and obviously I'm counting out Daniel Ricciardo's consecutive 4 race consecutive podiums. So that's my top 3. So I'm looking forward to this Grand Prix. I really, really am. If our predictions have something to say about it. So yeah.
Well, your predictions are almost the same as mine, but obviously, yeah, who's going to get that spot? Is it going to be the Finnish driver or the Australian driver? I'm going with DC. DR. That's right. Or is it going to be VB? Just in that analogy of the things. Because I've been saying DC for a number of weeks now, like David Coulthard, David Croft, and I always want to say DC. Every time I say the D, I'll be like, C, DC, DC.
Or you could be a Batman fan and say DC Comics. So.
Yes, you could be.
Random
big thing. Obviously, yes, very big from that. It'll be a great race to see what those two will be doing. Just one thing I wanted to say, and I think I said this in the F1 debate show the last time, which obviously on those two, we don't know obviously what's going to happen in the press conference in terms of the, any, like what's going to happen, where people are going to sit or whatever, but I think, in terms of what I think will happen, I think that two things. I think the first one will probably happen. It'll be Vettel and Hamilton will be in the same press conference, a bit like obviously what we saw with Mexico, which was obviously the next race. It had Charlie White and Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo in the same press conference, obviously for reasons so they could just talk about Mexico. And then obviously, as I say, the trading places, which I think as I said in the last F1 debate show, they had obviously Daniel Kvyat and Max Verstappen in the same press conference, sitting next to each other, obviously, so as I say, they could talk about trading places. We don't know what's going to happen, but I can imagine that that'll happen. And you never know, Charlie Whiting might be there, which that would be quite good to see that, because obviously then he could evaluate what will happen. But I guess
Milk, 2 sugars.
I guess that was what the meeting was for on Monday anyway, but yeah, that'll be exciting. And obviously Vettel and Hamilton, yeah, it's going to be so tense by then. But anyway, so we've got to move on to obviously what we do in the second part of the episode, which is obviously fry the grid. It is very tight now at the top. Jordan has taken the lead from the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It is tight, and let's see how much I know about Austria, and about the Red Bull Ring and all of its history. How am I going to do in round 9 of Fry the Grid?
Guten Tag, F1 Debate Show. My name is Lyle, and let's get ready to fry the grid for Austria.
Question 1. What is the name of the Austrian Grand Prix circuit?
It's either Red Bull Ring or Spielberg Ring.
Which one is it?
Red Bull Ring.
Correct.
Boom.
Question 2. Alain Prost is the most successful driver in Austria. How many Grand Prix has he won there?
Right. I think I saw someone saying that he won every year that he won the World Championship by once, so 3.
Correct.
Oh, nice.
Well done. He won it in 83, 85 and 86.
And I was right.
Question 3. Jochen Rindt became F1's only posthumous F1 World Champion at Austria. What year was this?
He won the World Championship in 1970.
So 1970. Correct. Yes, he won. Obviously, we all know that he was killed, tragically killed in Monza, but he was actually confirmed World Champion in Austria.
Yep.
Question 4. Who is the only Austrian driver to have won at his home Grand Prix?
Well, got to be obviously the amazing Austrian driver of Niki Lauda.
Correct. He won it in 1984 in a McLaren. Doing very well so far.
The amazing Niki Lauda.
Question 5. The Red Bull Ring was formerly called the Österreich Ring. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Österreich Ring.
That's the word. Yes.
Honestly, what?
Unbelievable that. What does that translate to in English?
Well, because I told you, I think I know what it means. It's the Austria Ring.
Be more specific?
Oh, well, Austria is right, obviously. It's Österreich.
Yes.
Ring, oh my god. Ring. Track.
I'll give you the point because obviously you told us what the word was. It was actually Austrian circuit.
Ooh.
That's what it translates to. I didn't even know that.
I didn't know that. I thought ring meant just like the ring of the circuit.
Oh dear. Question 6. Who was on the podium in 2016? Now I need all 3 for you to get the point.
Right. It was...
Now they don't have to be in order. You can be in any order. You just name 3 drivers.
So obviously Nico Rosberg won the race. It was Kimi Raikkonen and it was Verstappen.
Correct. Well done.
Ooh.
Question 7. 2014 marked the return of the Austrian Grand Prix. What year did it make its last appearance before that year?
Oh, that's a good one. 2002.
2003. Very close though.
Wow.
Question 8. How many corners does the Austrian Grand Prix circuit have?
It hasn't got many.
No,
got
it's
about...
very short. In fact, I think it's got the least number of corners on the calendar. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
Right, but I'm not going to try and count them because that would be a bit weird. But I'm going to say, the top of my head, 12.
9. 9 corners. I think, anyways. Some say 8 and some say 9, but when I researched it, it said 9, so I'm going off that.
Yeah. I'll say 9. Can I get the point?
Question 9. What year did the controversial Ferrari 1-2 happen?
I really don't know. 2000. No, what was it? Maybe 2000. 2001, let's say.
2002.
No.
It was very controversial because Barrichello was leading the race, and then he was asked to, on the last lap, to let Schumacher through to win the race.
Oh, right.
On the last lap. So again, a bit like Rosberg Hamilton type of situation.
Oh,
I
right,
believe.
okay.
I might be. I don't know.
Nice.
Question 10. Who was awarded F1's Driver of the Day at last year's Grand Prix? Now, this isn't ours, this is official Formula One's.
I'm going to have a guess and say it was Pascal Wehrlein because of his point.
No, it was Max Verstappen. Because he got P2 that race. So, let me count up because he did quite well. You got 6 out of 10. Now, you got the first 6 all right, but from question 7 onwards, it went downhill.
Oh.
So.
Well, das ist gut. Das ist sehr gut. Und back to the studio.
6 points. Impressive. You got a very, very good start. 6 out of 6. And then it all went downhill from there. But that means you are in the lead by 2.5 points going into our home Grand Prix and the halfway stage of the season. So you must be happy with yourself.
Very. I'm very happy. As I said in the episode, das ist sehr gut. So let's move on from the guy who is not educated in the other corner. So the first driver that we're going to be talking about in this Grand Prix is Sebastian Vettel. Now, obviously, as we both had him as the victor of the race. The guy who hasn't had a great Austrian Grand Prix since it's come back, really hasn't. Obviously, his best race, as I said, is 2015. Got good in the points, obviously 4th position, just missed out on the podium, but 2 DNFs, obviously DNF in 2016, obviously, as I said, a bad race in 2014 with car reliability problems. So what is he thinking coming into the Austrian Grand Prix? Now, obviously, he is the leader of the World Championship at 153 points, obviously ahead of Lewis Hamilton, which is behind just, I think it's about 20 odd points, give or take. I'm not going to do rough math in my head because I'm crap, I'm going to get it wrong. So just to save us a humiliation, I'm just going to say about 20 points. So obviously he's happy that he's leading, obviously, of course you are, but he hasn't won, and obviously as JD said, Jordan said, oh my god, Jordan said he hasn't been on the podium in the last few races, and obviously his win count is, it's not high at the moment, which obviously he wanted to be. So Sebastian Vettel, he'll want to have a good race in here, but obviously the big thing to mention is what happened in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and we've mentioned it in the first point, but to be honest, I mean, come on guys, you have to have been, I was going to say, you have to have been living under a rock not to know what happened, but what did happen? John, will you just please give our fans, just tell our fans, and me for example, because obviously I'm crap at remembering stuff, do you want to just tell me again what happened in that race?
Well, 2 children, let's say, pretty much just squabbled over nothing. One threw a hissy fit, threw the toys out the pram, told off by the parents.
You don't chuck your toys out of the pram, which they definitely did. Anyway, so obviously, as we said, Sebastian Vettel just rolls into this race, nothing amiss. He got his 10-second stop and go penalty, which obviously is one of the harshest sanctions that the FIA can give during the race. Obviously, as we all know, the biggest blunder is a black flag. And obviously, the most recent one-race ban that's ever been given out in Formula 1 was obviously to Romain Grosjean, the Lotus Renault in 2012, Belgium. We all know why. John, do you know why he got that ban? Well,
Because someone literally threw the toys out the pram.
Yes. So
because
yeah, he's probably using his mobile phone or something like that. But I was going to say, just chuck the toys out the pram. Somebody chucked the toys at Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton. But obviously, that was the most recent race ban. But as I said, 10-second stop and go, one of the most harshest penalties that the FIA can give. Sebastian Vettel, I mean, he'll be heading into this race with unfortunately a bit of hate behind him, because a lot of Lewis Hamilton fans will be obviously thinking that he caused the crash and he should have got a more harsher penalty. And obviously that was decided the other day, but that was decided to be scrapped, and then he'll be heading into this race with a clean slate. But obviously the thing to mention is, what is Lewis Hamilton and what is other drivers in the paddock going to be thinking about Vettel's driving? Because as we know, John, there's a lot of drivers they watched, obviously, like third drivers, like third parties, they've been watching that crash and they've been thinking, oh my God, what if Vettel, I mean, come on, calm down. Honestly, obviously you did that crash, which obviously is not good, but then you started like kind of defending yourself and not owning up to it and stuff like that. And then obviously a lot of drivers, including like Daniel Ricciardo and people like that, have looked up the grid and down the grid. I mean, even like Robert Kubica or Goodwood have been kind of criticising it and basically saying that you've overreacted and you've done a bit of a ridiculous thing. So John, here is a question for you, obviously, with Sebastian Vettel. I mean, his driving is good. Let's leave it to one side, because obviously, as you say, we both have him as the winner. He will just do what he does in this race. But the thing that's going to be on his shoulder and in his mind, at the back of it, it's either going to be at the back of his mind or he's going to, kind of dig it up even more, is what are the other drivers going to think about him? It's a bit like going to school. It's a bit like your popularity at school. I mean, I'm asking the right person because, guys, just to let you know, he was not popular at school. He was not popular at all. So I'm asking the right person here. So anyway, go on then. So what do you think other drivers will be thinking about Sebastian? So it's almost like a few questions. What do you think the other drivers will be thinking? What do you think Hamilton will be thinking? What do you think his team will be thinking? And what do you think the fans will be thinking? I know it's a lot of thinking. That's way more thinking than a lot of thinking. So what do you think they'll all be thinking? Not Vettel as a whole, but what do you kind of think the vibe of Vettel will be? The talk of the town, the talk around the track. What do you think it'll be about Sebastian?
Well, for sure, it's not going to be positive, I would say that, because everyone's obviously expressed their opinions of what they thought of the incident. Obviously, more recent, Robert Kubica at Goodwood basically saying Vettel overreacted, and I think we said in the last episode of the F1 debate show, catch it if you haven't seen it already, that we said that it was kind of in the heat of the moment, thing, because obviously when you are, when you're in that car, and obviously what we were saying is that obviously he lost out on the restart on the first safety car. So obviously adrenaline's flowing and everything, which obviously is understandable. But obviously you've got to think about the driver's safety and obviously your actions of what you're doing. You've got to try and literally control yourself from doing stupid things like that. We've never seen anything like that before. So I mean, I would expect it from your average Marcus Ericsson back at the grid, but I wouldn't expect it from
Pastor Maldonado.
Exactly, Roman Grosjean back in the day. But I wouldn't expect it from a 4-time world champion. That's just ridiculous in my opinion. But it's done, it's dusted, and also as well, Vettel did apologise after the tribunal, so I'll give it to him that he's owned up. He said, "I'm sorry, my bad." That's why he's pretty much got no further punishment, no further action. But
it's almost like do you know, like when you've done something wrong at school, and then like you'll have a meeting with the teacher, and then they'll say, "So, do you have anything to say for yourself?" And then you'll go, "I'm sorry," and then your mum will grab your ear and go, "Come on, say it properly." And then you'll go, I'm sorry. And then you'll walk out of the room and go, "I didn't really mean that." Not that ever happened to me. Not many times. Not for the 100th time that ever happened to me. But do you think that'll have been like that? Do you think I'm not saying that his apology won't have been sincere, but do you think at the back of his mind, do you think he still thinks that he was right and that people either overreacted, or do you think he still thinks that Hamilton, brake tested him and kind of, drove him to do that?
I mean, I don't think we'll ever fully know what was going through Hamilton's mind at that specific moment, because we're not Lewis Hamilton. We can't go in the side of the mind of arguably one of the best British drivers ever. British F1 drivers, one of the best F1 legends ever. Let's say. So
yes.
we don't know. We don't know what he's thinking. We don't know what actions he's doing. So that's only for us to debate, which is why we are here. But
the only reason,
exactly. But I think. Just obviously touching on what you're saying about Lewis Hamilton, I think in his mindset he's going to go, right, I'm not going to think about Vettel. The only time I'm going to be thinking about Vettel is going into turn 1. Apart from that, it's nothing. Or even Q3. And that's the only time I'm going to be thinking about it. Other than that, it's just pure, get the job done. I've got a job to do. I've got a job to catch Vettel. Let's try and do that. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's going for the all-time pole position record. That'll be on his mind. 66 he's at. 67 if he gets pole position. He matches Michael Schumacher at Silverstone, and then he could break the record in Hungary, which would be an absolutely amazing achievement. But obviously, he might not do that. Vettel might get pole position, which could be very, very controversial. But I think for now, I think in the media terms, and obviously us as well, it won't die down. It'll be burning like a fire, for weeks, and obviously for continuously until it probably just dies down, calms down, and then. But in terms of the racing on the grid, I think it's gone. It's done. Vettel's admitted to it. He should have done it afterwards, but what can he do? He's eventually apologised. That's it. It's done. It's sorted. Mm-hmm. But just moving on to another thing that happened at Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Literally anything. Honestly, we can literally go on about this race all the time. Which obviously, it's kind of been. It's a bit unfortunate because it's been overshadowed by Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, which I'm actually really annoyed about. Which is obviously Lance Stroll's podium. I mean. Wow, it was actually nearly P2, but then he was picked on the line by Valtteri Bottas. But
very close,
very, very close indeed. But P3 for a guy who was under a lot of pressure. Now we've given him a lot of stick this season. Lance Stroll, we were saying how bad not really how bad it was, but how he should be doing better. He's kind of a paid driver. He's wasting his seat. Let's get somebody else in. But the past 2 Grand Prix, scored I think P9 in Canada, and then obviously P3 in Azerbaijan. That's brilliant, and I think it was down to because he went out in the I don't know, I can't remember the name, but it was the 2014 car he went out in, and Massa was teaching him a couple of things, and since then he's got 2 points and a podium. Not bad. That's actually pretty impressive, and it's actually stunned a lot of critics. More famously, Jacques Villeneuve, who gave him a lot of stick. Before Canada, obviously, with him being Canadian, son of one of the best F1 drivers, Gilles Villeneuve, he was world champion himself, Jacques Villeneuve. So obviously, a lot of media attention is around him, Canadian as well. And obviously, he was basically saying Lance Stroll is one of the worst F1 drivers I've ever seen. Yeah, of course he is. And we were saying Pastor Maldonado. And he's won the race. Exactly.
Well, I mean, there's even worse drivers than that, but obviously, we'll just stick with Pastor
Maldonado. But that's as far as I'm going. Anthony Davidson.
Yes.
Anthony Davidson, most famously. But anyways, we're not going down that route. So what was I saying? Yes. Oh yeah. So Lance Stroll obviously proved everybody wrong, and I think this weekend he's going to have another point scoring finish because he's on cloud 9 right now. 18 years old. You're on the podium, you're driving Williams, you're next to who won the race? Daniel Ricciardo, and you're next to Valtteri Bottas. Some very talented drivers, but mostly important than that, what's better than being on the podium and on your debut season and being the youngest ever podium stander in Formula 1 history?
What's better than that?
Doing the shoey.
Oh yes.
Incredible scenes in Baku it was, but obviously that's. Yeah. Anyways, so Lance Stroll, Lyle, we've all gave him a lot of stick, but have you sort of seen another side of Lance Stroll, or are you still a bit? He's had 2 point scoring races. He's got a bit lucky. I don't think that is set to continue. What do you think Lance Stroll is going to do this weekend?
Right, basically, that was amazing. He headed into Canada, and people were saying that he was a ridiculous driver. He was a bit of a joke, and obviously we weren't ripping him so much, to the point of Pastor Maldonado level. But obviously, he just wasn't pulling his weight, And then obviously, if points finished at his home race, and then that amazing drive. I mean, honestly, that was fantastic. He was leading the race at one point. He was getting close where obviously you probably thought he wouldn't win, but I mean, he was putting up a great fight. Oh, yeah. Second place, but obviously, it was a bit of a shock. It kind of gave me a bit of a jump when I saw Bottas come past. I was like, oh my god, he got him. Wow, what's happening there? Honestly, what has happened there?
Moment that was like, and he got him. I was like, oh
yeah.
No.
But obviously, that was great by Lance. Really, really great. He's going to be great. Obviously, as I say, 18 years old, obviously younger than Verstappen to get on the podium, obviously youngest appearance. Great by him. He's always going to be on that push now. He's got loads of mentality. He's got a great mentality. Obviously, a really youngest driver in Formula 1. Obviously, podium position, really, really strong. There's really not much stopping him. And obviously, the car. Williams are strong around Austria. Because if you remember, guys, in 2014, Massa and Bottas locked out the front row. Massa got pole position in Austria. Why that? Obviously, of course, they didn't win. I think in lap 2 they got passed or something like that. Well, yes, they did get passed eventually. I think Bottas got jumped on the first lap, and I think Massa held it together until about lap 2, I think. I remember watching that race and I remember thinking, oh my god, Massa's going to win, honestly, because I remember he just left Ferrari at that time and it was like, oh my god, he's done the right decision here. Wow, honestly, that's class. Well, but obviously, yeah, at that point he did, obviously, yeah, but it was great. Lance is going to he's going to have so much, he's just going to be feeling great about coming into this race. He's going to be feeling great, loads, obviously, 2 points finished behind him, podium. It's going to be great, and let's see what he's going to do. My prediction would be probably about a 7th or an 8th in terms of points finished. Now, Jordan said obviously points finished as well. He's going to be really strong from that driver. Anyway, moving on, and there's one team that I want to just touch on very quickly, and that's Red Bull. Yeah, so Red Bull's almost like I could have opened this segment up with a bit of a crap cliche, because you have first place and then you have DNF. First place to DNF, that's a big gap, and that is the gap between Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen. Ricciardo wins the race, Verstappen retires, and obviously we discussed them in F1 in the most recent F1 debate show, where we talk about is Max Verstappen fed up with Red Bull racing, but obviously it's not great from him. Where they are obviously Ricciardo's 4th in the World Championship, Verstappen's 6th. So it's not much of a gap. Obviously Raikkonen's in a Red Bull sandwich at this time. It's not a massive thing, but obviously in terms of the points, Ricciardo's got almost double what Max has. And Ricciardo, as I say, 4 consecutive podiums, including the race win. He could be on for 5. Well, he's on for 5 anyway, in my eyes. But it's great. Red Bull, that's a very strange team. To have one driver excelling so much, and then another driver kind of not. Not to say he's a great driver, obviously, Verstappen, but he's not. He's just not finding his way in 2017. But home race, and it's exciting what to see. And obviously, as I say, for the podium, I've said Ricciardo's on the podium. So Jordan, I mean, the Austrian team from Milton Keynes, if that makes sense. First place to DNF. I mean, that's odd. That is really odd. It's almost like it's not consistent, but it's almost like a funny not consistent to say that one person wins and does the shoey, and then one of the others retires, and it's not like Red Bull, as we've said for many episodes, and we said in the most recent F1 debate show as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is always heartbreaking to see, because just where Max Verstappen came from, you know what I mean? Like from last season, he just excelled, beyond expectations. He stunned a lot of us with his drives, obviously in Spain and in Brazil. I mean, Brazil, fantastic drive. This season looked like it was going to start that way again, because he had a good result in Australia, then that brilliant drive in China. He needs a rainy race, doesn't he? He needs to like sort of boost up some, that confidence in your Max Verstappen. But obviously, he's on a bit of a downer. But Max Verstappen is that kind of driver that he's like, right, I've had 2 really bad results, 2 DNFs. I'm not going to let that play on my mind. I'm going to say, right, new Grand Prix, new weekend. Let's start again. Let's go. Let's do it right. And I think
let's go for it.
And that's what makes a world champion. That's what makes a good driver, which then also makes him a world champion eventually. So I think he's going in with the right attitude. I've seen him on social media and stuff. Not that I'm stalking him. I've just seen pictures and stuff where. Oh my god! Where he's just looking calm, he's looking fresh, he's looking clean. He's like, right.
Oh yeah, clean.
I hope he is anyways. Hope he's looking clean anyways.
Well, you would know, you stalker.
I would indeed. So he's going in with the right attitude as well. I think he's on for a good result. I would say about P4 with Daniel Ricciardo P5. That'll be a handy result. That's the result he needs. Actually, to score points, that's what he needs. So anything probably from like 8th above, I would approve anyways. So anyways, the last team I'm going to mention anyways is Force India. Now, Force India are a team that are, the dark horses of Formula 1, you know what I mean? Like, they're the team who's just like, you've got the big battle of the loud, guys at the back of the bus. We're Ferrari and we're Mercedes. And then you've got Red Bull, who was like, I used to be them one day. And then you've got Force India at the front, like little timid Force India, who could probably pop out a good old equation every now and then, just like, what? Where did that come from? From that quiet dude, it's just like, it goes all quiet, then all of a sudden he comes up with one of the funniest jokes you've ever heard, which is something that's never come from him, my co-host, ever. So anyways, apart from a little thing that we used to do, but anyways, that's for another story.
I agree with that statement completely.
Definitely. Not going down that route anyways. We're on about like YouTube channels, but we'll get that on the little road. I just worded that really, really wrong, by the way. I've just literally what I just said.
Oh god.
Peggy 3. Anyways, so obviously Force India, after what happened with them in Baku, obviously coming together, which was a bit like, oh my god, like really guys, it was bad to say. And obviously I think Perez was going for 16 races in a row, consecutively scoring points. That obviously ended. Esteban Ocon obviously retired because of that. No Force India scored any points. Very, very devastating as well, which is obviously bad to see in Force India terms. So obviously I was good to see that, but also as well, I just want to address that. Is this going to sort of hinder the trust between these two drivers? Because they've got, good team mortality at Force India. They've arguably got probably the best team, teamwork ethic in the grid out apart from Red Bull, I would say, not at the moment anyways, but in terms of drivers working together, I think those two are the best. Now Force India are a really, really good team. They're really reliable, as we were saying, 15 races in a row for Sergio Perez, that's absolutely brilliant as well. So but I think that might hinder them a little bit because of of what happened between them. Obviously when one driver hit the other, it's going to be a bit like whenever they get close, it's going to be like, don't hit me, whoa, just keep away, and then that might obviously cost them a couple of points and maybe force India to. There's a one.
Oh. I knew you were going to say that, man.
I didn't even mean to say that. I just went force India. That's a good one. That. Anyways, this is terrible. This.
Honestly,
terrible
man, how are you?
Honestly, what are we doing?
Honestly,
really, really bad jokes come from me exclusively from the F1 debate show, but no. It could force India to actually do a split strategy and then maybe cost them a couple of points, maybe even a podium at some stages. So, Force India, really, really good team. Do you think this Baku thing is going to hinder them in the Austrian Grand Prix and Britain and Hungary and obviously towards the summer break? Or do you think it's going to be, it's a one-off, they're fine, they're a good team, they know what they're doing? What do you think?
The second one, John. The second one. I've got to say, it's obviously in terms of what happened in Baku, we'll have the Hamilton Vettel thing. That's the big thing. I think this Force India thing, honestly, I think it's nothing really. It'll be water under the bridge. It's a little racing incident. I mean, obviously, we've seen teams coming together just like a little slight bit. And obviously, I've got to say, John, I mean, in terms of, teams coming together like that, you've got, I think the big option, and I think a good one, obviously, to use in your direction as well, obviously, as a McLaren fan, is the Hamilton Button collision in Canada 2011.
Yeah.
There was no, Hamilton didn't resent Button for that. And obviously you've said it many times, and I agree also. I mean, obviously we all know it was a racing incident, and I'm sure that if the F1 debate show was around then, what was the next round after that? I don't know. Let's just say Valencia or something. I've got no idea. Let's just say Valencia. If that was the next round, whatever the next round was, I imagine that we'd be sitting here saying that it's just water under the bridge between those two McLarens, and let's move on. So yeah, anyway, so Force India, I think it's just water under the bridge. They're not going to force. No, I can't do one. I can't do one. I can't do one. Yes, anyway, so yeah, as you said, finish. That's a good way to finish Kimi Räikkönen even this episode. So obviously, thank you very much for watching our preview of Austria, obviously round 9. Very exciting to see Vettel and Hamilton going together. It's going to be great to see what is going to happen between all these between all these drivers that we've discussed. And obviously, is our podium predictions going to be correct? Let us know in the comment section, as always, anything that we've mentioned in this episode that you want to talk about. The Red Bulls, Lance Stroll, the Force Indias, Sebastian Vettel. What do you think is going to happen in this Grand Prix? It's going to be amazing to watch. We hope you've enjoyed all the content, obviously Friday Grid, as at round 9 as well. We hope you're enjoying that. And as ever, this has been the F1 Debate Show, and until next time, guys, see you later.
See you later, guys.